Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Can everybody hear me? Feel free to unmute yourself. Say hello.
Hi,
Sound
Michael.
check. Hi there. How's everybody this morning?
Good.
Doing great.
We're doing a test to see what the most popular background color is today, and it looks like our blue is winning.
I think so.
Oh, wow.
We're all feeling a little blue today.
Good, Deborah.
All right, Deborah has joined the beige club.
Yes, we like that.
We told Larry he was looking a little beige this morning.
I don't know why mine is flipped. I kept trying to get it the opposite way, but I guess
It's right. It looks right.
oh, it does? Okay, maybe it's just on my,
I think when you look at yourself, you see it in the opposite side, but we're seeing it in the right direction.
perfect, awesome.
So good job.
Lisa, do you know what time zone you're in?
I have no idea. My flight got delayed last night as well, so I got home so late and I'm just hanging in there.
Glad you're here. Glad you're
Thank
here.
you.
Lisa, where were you?
I took a river cruise from Switzerland to Amsterdam.
Oh, nice.
It was really, really nice.
Hey, Michael.
Yeah.
Kinsey is she in the waiting room there?
I don't see her. I don't know. Kelly, do you see her?
Nope, we have no one in the waiting room.
Huh, okay.
Do we need to get the link to someone?
Yeah, she's like, it's just saying that she's in the, she's waiting for it. So let me resend it to her and see if that does it.
I wonder if she's in the weekly call one, Mike, instead.
Right, she might be using a different.
Oh, maybe I used the wrong one. Okay, so let me.
All right, well, we'll get started in just a minute. Let's see. So
There she is.
Is she
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
Okay, I think she was the last one.
Okay, good.
Let's just make sure she gets in the room. There she is.
Okay, good.
Hey, Kenzie, welcome.
Hi, good morning.
Made it. All right, well, I think we've got our whole group here. If anybody is missing, they'll join us in progress. But in the interest of time, why don't we jump in and get started? We've got an action-packed agenda today. So once again, welcome everybody. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us for what is our first Margin and Mission Ignition knowledge sharing session. We're delighted to have everybody here with us. I think before we get started, we just want to acknowledge that you have all been doing triple duty, not only working diligently on your business plans for your earned income ventures as part of MMI, but also preparing fast and furiously for today's session so that you can share what you've been up to with everybody. In addition to your day jobs, which includes lots of other things that you have going on. So again, we appreciate all of you joining us today. On behalf of the Patterson Foundation and the No Margin, No Mission team, just want to acknowledge our team who's here today. Myself and Larry Clark, along with Michael Corley, who will wave and say hello, Deborah Jacobs, and Kelly Alexander. So you all will have a chance to introduce yourselves when you share your highlights from your business plan overviews. So with that, I'm going to share the screen. Yeah.
Mike, let's introduce Sarah.
Oh, and Sarah Leonard, one of our, let's see, 1, 2, 3 Sarahs who are on this Zoom today. Sarah, I apologize. Of course, we're delighted that you're here with us as well. Okay, so with that, I'll share my screen and we'll dive right in. So I believe that nobody has ever been to a knowledge sharing session before. So today is a first for each of you. We've been doing knowledge sharing sessions now since the very beginning of Margin and Mission Ignition. And we like them for a number of reasons, which I'll explain in a moment. As you know, we like to start with a quote during our sessions. And this one we attribute to an individual who brings lots of wisdom. It says, "We know that every person, organization, and community has cookie jars, and we benefit when we all share nuggets of wisdom and experience." Anybody want to venture a guess who this quote comes from? Feel free to just shout it out if you happen to know. Anybody?
Somebody's giving it away.
Okay, well, it happens to be none other than our very own Deborah Jacobs. And yes, today is all about sharing your cookies. We are very big believers in not just doing the work and going through all of the sort of, exercises that we do as part of our business planning phase of this initiative. But now comes the time when each of you will have the opportunity to share. And share you will. You're the Fruitful Four, Sarasota Opera, Art Center Sarasota, Save Our Seabirds, and NAMI Sarasota and Manatee counties. So today is going to be all about you with the opportunity to share what you've been up to. Just a couple of quick Zoom housekeeping items. We know you're all well versed, but please mute yourself in case there's any background noises until we open up and ask you to unmute yourselves. If you can, in that little box, rename yourself so that you have your name and your organization. You can do that by clicking on the little 3 dots that are up in the top right corner. Click on rename and just type your name and organization in there. As we're going through today, please feel free to share any comments or questions in the chat box as we go. And we'll also have the opportunity, of course, to share and ask questions and provide comments throughout the session. The session is being recorded as well, so any or all of you will have access to that if you would like it. We love social media, so if anybody is inclined to tweet today or post on social media, here's our Twitter handles and our hashtags. And we're going to pause just for a moment so that we can take a quick group photo. So I think everybody has their video. Well, let's see. Ken from Sarasota Opera, if you can.
He's on.
Oh, is
I
he?
think we have two Kens. So Ken, we can see you on one, and Sarah, I see you now.
Okay, good. All right, well, let's do this. We'll take, I think, 2 pictures. So please show us your smiling faces, and we'll do a countdown. So Kelly, you want to cue it up?
Yes. All right. So 3, 2, 1. Okay, good. And then for our other one, Mike.
Okay, you ready? Should we do a fun one?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
3, 2, 1. Let me make sure I got them. And we're good. Thank you.
All right. Be on the lookout for that photo to pop up somewhere on social media. Like it, comment on it, share it. So just very briefly, we said that today is about sharing cookies. So a few goals that we have from the session to elaborate on that. One is really to give each of the Fruitful Four teams and all of us just a nice basic understanding of the highlights of your team's business plan to date. You're all actually nearly completed with your business plans. We're just putting finishing touches on them. and also working through kind of financials, the startup or growth capital that you're going to be seeking in your fast pitch. So that's point number one. Number two is to share sort of all those things that have come about as part of this phase of work: knowledge, learning, successes, challenges, opportunities from this business planning phase of the initiative. And then importantly, not just sharing between each of us who are on the session today, but can you bring it back, some of those nuggets from today, some of those cookies, and share them with others in your organization and who are part of the extended team. So those are our goals. Our agenda, as I said, is action-packed. We're going to start. The first half of our session is going to be sharing your business plan highlights. And then the second half is going to be diving into those learning and sharing topics. And we've got 5 of them: communication, aha moments, organizational changes, expect the unexpected, and leveraging the opportunity. And you've all got some talking points to share. And from there, we'll wrap up, close the session, and be on our way. So Larry, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about.
Yeah, I am the process guy today. Thank you again, just as Mike said, for all the work that's gone into your PowerPoints today. And as all of you know, it's really a good setup for the fast pitch that's coming up in a month or two. So today, business plan highlights, you'll each share your PowerPoint. You'll get 10, 12 minutes max. So please time yourself. We don't want it to go any longer than 12 minutes. And then we have our learning sharing topics. We'll take about 10 to 12 minutes per topic, one topic at a time and one team at a time, obviously. And each team will share briefly. You've been asked to have 1 or 2 or maybe 3 thoughts on each one of those. So get ready to share. And I know you've kind of split them up amongst each other. So as people are presenting and as we're going through the learning and sharing topics, think about your business plan. It's nearly complete. Like Mike said, I think most of the budgets are almost done. And the learning that's taking place, there's several similarities. There's some differences. Obviously, every single business is different. And there's learning curves, depending on where we were in the business plan, where we're at in the budget. Learning curves are happening. But take a step back, and if you do have questions for the other teams as they're presenting, write them down, and we will have a Q&A time after each one of the presentations. Okay, I'll turn it back to Mike to introduce the first group.
All right, so first group up is the Art Center Sarasota team. I believe that Kinsey and Margaret Ann are both going to share today. Is that right? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm going to stop screen share and then turn it over to you. I don't know if it's Kinsey or Margaret Ann, but you should be able to share your PowerPoints.
I've got it. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can share this right now. Sharing has failed to start. Please try again later.
If it doesn't work, I have it up on my screen, Kinsey, and then I can the slides for you. Is that better?
Did I try it?
I'm pulling it up, but it's to try and share, but it keeps on saying, please try again later. Hold on one second.
If not, Margaret Ann, you can try.
Share screen. Okay, hold on one second. Let's see if I can.
You got it.
Everybody's seeing in here.
There it is.
There you go.
Are you seeing it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry, hold on. Let me just get to the screen so I can see what you guys are looking at. Okay.
You just hit slideshow mode. There you go.
Yep, got it. All right, sorry,
right.
Thanks for that. A little technical difficulty. Good morning, everyone. Let me just start my clock on the timer so we can stay on time. I just want to introduce my colleague, Margaret Ann, who has been very involved in this project with us and has been really spearheading it, along with our board members, Barbara Banks and our chairman, Phil Baker, who are also on the call. Barbara Dravecki is one of our board consultants who may hop on this. I don't see her on it right now. Anyhow, good morning. So for our business plan, we are utilizing the Art Center, which is an organization that's almost 100 years old. And what we want to try and do for additional revenue generation is to create a rental business for our facility. Just so you can see our mission. Is to really, it's to bring, together the creatives and the broader public to increase the understanding of our human condition through the universal language of art. So what this looks like as an art center is a lot of collaboration, exhibitions, and education for us. We value inclusion. We're very community centric. We do a lot within the community, and we love partnering with other organizations for the common good. We also really want to encourage the freedom of expression, not just with our youth, but also with our adults who take our classes and all the artists that exhibit here and also enter into our art competitions. And of course, legacy is really important. We're 100 years old, and we want to be around for another 100 years. So we're really committed to the stewardship that's required to carry our organization forward. And of course, a huge example of that is participating in this program with the Patterson Foundation and MMI with Larry and with Michael. It's a way to safeguard our future and to keep us a sustainable sustainable in terms of our financial revenues. So if you look at the next picture, we are now, sorry, and I'm on dual screen. So if you see my eyes lead away, it's just to go to another computer screen. So just to talk a little bit more about our space, we have about 8,000 square feet of space that are broken up into 4 galleries. One of the things that we do to bring our mission to life is we host exhibitions year round. We have, as I mentioned, 4 gallery spaces. So we host anywhere up to from 20 to 27 exhibitions year round. We usually plan our exhibitions about a year to 2 years out. We also offer adult education for a lot of visitors. Tourists come here to take our classes. We have visiting artists that we fly in from all over the country to lead classes. And we also employ local artists here in Sarasota to teach. And youth education is another big one for us. We launched a Saturday program to coincide with the school district year. And we have free art classes for kids. We also work on field trips with other youth organizations so that the kids get exposure to art. And then, of course, we have our community projects that we do. This one was with the Boys and Girls Club to create a mural on the back wall of our building. And we went through a selection process and had Annie Dong, who was an art, a student at New College. She designed the concept for the mural. And then the Boys and Girls Club helped us all execute it.
Well,
let me just pause that, move on. It's a little time lapse. So here's the problem. We've noticed that in Sarasota, a lot of, there are a lot of fundraisers, there are a lot of rental spaces, a lot of events that go on throughout the year, but finding a space that can be kind of a flexible space that could accommodate a large group for over 100 or feel intimate in a small group of 20 is really hard to find. Also, finding a location that's near downtown that has free parking and also parking availability is difficult at times. So we really wanted to be that venue that can kind of be a flexible space that can make parties of 20 feel really comfortable, and then parties of 100 to 200 feel comfortable as well. If you're on a budget, sometimes renting the Ritz-Carlton ballroom or a hotel room is a hotel lobby area, entertaining area can be very expensive. So we want to sit a little bit below that pocket and be a more affordable and accessible space for other companies. So we are the solution for some of these problems. Our value proposition is basically we provide a unique space. We have exhibitions year round, so there's always something that's creative in appearance, and it looks more a little bit more, has a little bit more character than some of the venues that you might have been used to going to, where it's a little bit impersonal or it's a little bit bland in appearance. So our target market are milestone celebrations, thinking about anniversaries, maybe second weddings, birthday parties, retirements. And then also thinking about the families that we cater to and celebrating their milestones, which could be graduations, birthdays, quinceañeras, bar mitzvahs, showers. And then again, businesses. We think that we can partner with businesses and offer a space that could be utilized for a retreat or conference. Additionally, we think we could work with some of the philanthropic organizations who might need to run a fundraiser but don't have an actual physical space. And then of course, performing art groups that are maybe more seasonal and are renting spaces at certain places, but aren't large enough for like the Van Wezel and might be better for a more intimate setting. So of course, the competition here is the Art Museum, Selby Gardens, the Art Ovation, smaller kind of mid-tier organizations that can host about 200 people. Then there are also the larger ones, which are like the Municipal Auditorium, Moat Marine, Ringling, and the Van Wezel. There are competition, but in similar ways, we're kind of a little bit beneath the competition on that. Let's see. Some of our advantages are that we're conveniently located downtown, and that we're near the bay. We're on the bay and we have a lot of parking. We have some flexible gathering spaces inside and outside. We have a kitchen. We're right now testing this at about 400 an hour. And that we also have some visually inspiring work. I am having an issue with my presentation being, I thought I was pulling up something that was edited, but it looks like it's an older version. And I'm just trying to see, Michael, is there a way that you can pull up the newer one? I thought I had it on here.
This is fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Sorry. So our approach is we just want to, for marketing, we want to obviously utilize our website, which is, a go-to place. We have a social media presence of over 3,000 people on Instagram, and I believe over 6,000 on Facebook that we want to be able to communicate to. We have outsourced press contact who works with us. And then of course, just handouts, brochures, and getting our word out just in a grassroots way. Also, we want to look at thinking about maybe catering a little bit to general inquiries that come in through the facility. We have about 60,000 people that come through the Art Center every single year, sometimes more. So facilitating some tours, doing some more grassroots outreach, open houses was an idea that we had, could really kind of enter us into a targeted group of people, and it could give us more flexibility in reaching a wider audience. Of course, looking at other organizations that we could be a referral for, if they had a rental space and they were booked, maybe they would want to refer us and we would do the same. And then of course, we move into preparing for the launch, which we've actually gotten a bit of that underway. We've made some improvements to the Art Center, which have been really valuable for us. New floors. We had carpet on our walls, and now we have nice gallery walls. We've upgraded our air conditioning units, so now we don't have any problems really with like ACs breaking down. We are an old building. We want to further improve the building by landscape design, renovating the bathrooms, which would be heavily used as a rental, upgrading some of our AV systems, and then of course, hiring a designated event manager for this, who can work with our marketing and contracted communications team to get the word out. And then right now, we are right now we are into the business plan, as you all are, and we're continuing to do our donor outreach. So just like everybody else, we've got our little potential sharks or donor investors that we're working with to make sure are going to come to our fast pitch. And also it provides us with an opportunity to engage in these discussions and really play up the Art Center, and also the importance and the value of this business plan to see the Art Center be successful in the future. And then, of course, we want to start booking right away. And we actually have booked a couple of events since this has started, which is great. My time is up, so I'm not sure, Margaret Ann, is there anything else that we want to touch on? Michael, do you have any questions for us to kind of go off of?
No, just open it up for Q&A to see if anybody has any questions or comments to share. You might even be able to make a tireless plug to this group to see if anybody's interested potentially in booking.
That's true. I think we all want to support each other. So if there are any people that are looking for some events, this is a space that can always be utilized.
Kinsey, you can turn yourself off screen share.
Yep, got it.
Any questions? All right, Lisa Hartman.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, first of all, probably Save Our Seabirds. I could see us using your event space at some point. And also, I'd just like to tell you that I've been passing by, and the outside is really looking very nice.
Thank you. That's great to hear. Yeah, we're slowly but surely trying to make some improvements and upgrading and making our art center look more friendly from the outside as it is in the inside.
Yeah, it's much more noticeable. It's really good.
That's great.
Michael Corley.
Hey, Kinsey, nice job. What's included with the space rental? Is it?
So, yep. So we've been working this out a little bit. We have a lot of materials here at the Art Center that can be utilized: folding chairs, folding tables that are about 6 feet, which can all be, we also have some high tables for cocktail service. So all of that is on a list of kind of like what would be included. Now, we don't work with a specific caterer in the area. However, we see that as a pro, because that means that any organization that comes to utilize our space can really cater the event towards their tastes, which might be a little bit less imposing or intimidating than having like, oh, we only work with this one caterer who's wildly expensive or very niche in what they serve. So it gives a little bit more range, but we do have quite a few materials on hand that we've listed that can be utilized for a rental space when we do that outreach.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a parting comment, question, or thought? Deborah.
Yeah, could you just talk about it and ponder in your materials? We have found the importance of internet Wi-Fi strength and the whole AV support. So you might want to just consider how you're including that in your list package or promotion.
Yeah, right now we have, and that's something that's in our business plan to try and put in our budget some money for upgrading some of those AV systems. Right now we have a portable speaker system that's by Fender that we use. It can go inside, outside. We also have a projector with a screen and speaker capabilities, but certainly, Deborah, to your point, raising the bar a bit for the AV and making it a little bit maybe more complicated than what we need, but more helpful and useful to somebody who's coming into our space is important. Plus, that stuff's heavy, it weighs a lot. Schlepping it around is not always easy. So if we can have that infrastructure already set up here, I think that's an added advantage.
All right, let's go on to the next group. Larry, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce.
Good. The next group is NAMI, and I believe Colleen is on there.
I am. Hello.
Hi. If you want to share your screen, whoever's going to be sharing.
Beth's going to share. I think Beth's going to share the screen for us, and then just we're going to share the duties.
Okay.
I'm going to start it though. So once she has it up, I can go. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
And I see NAMI being able to use your space too, Kinsey. So that's really exciting. I love the Art Center. So our business plan's a little bit different, but I'm going to start with, who we are. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. It is an organization that is an affiliate of a national organization. So we obviously cover Sarasota and Manatee, but there's more than 600 affiliates all over the country. I'm actually at National Conference in Minneapolis as we speak. And our mission really is to improve the lives of individuals, families, and caregivers on their journey to mental wellness. We are a support organization, so we don't provide mental health treatment. We really are complementary to that. And our core values really focus on hope and belonging, empowerment. We really focus a lot on self-care, self-efficacy, compassion, vulnerability, and fairness. And so this slide just gives you a little bit of an idea of some of the things that we do. We have 4 focus areas, and those are listed here. And then across, for both counties, what NAMI is known for is our support and education programs. They're signature to NAMI, and they really are all focused on helping individuals and families. We do a lot in the advocacy space, and then we do a lot with talking to others, telling stories, that kind of outreach and awareness piece. And one of the things that is also really very, it's NAMI-centric, but it is unique to NAMI. NAMI is the only all peer-led organization in our community. And what that means is everyone affiliated with NAMI, whether it be all of us as staff members, all of our volunteers, are individuals with lived experience, meaning either we have our own mental health condition, or we are family members of somebody with a mental health condition. And one of the things we do with peer support, being that that's how we, run our daily business, is, a person can be a peer specialist. And that means that they're using their own recovery to help others and provide support and education to others in that direct space. So what's the problem? So for us, peer support is really it's growing in the communities. That it's growing across the country. Actually, there's a lot of legislation regarding peer specialists that in Florida has passed, and then in other places too. So there's a high demand as the recovery movement moves forward. And there also are, like a lot of different kinds, well, really across the board, workforce shortages. And so that's also a case in the mental health system. And it is one of the reasons why individuals that are having mental health challenges aren't getting the treatment they need. And one of the things you can do is become a certified recovery peer specialist, but navigating that is really hard for both peers and the employers who employ them. The roles are very unclear. So I think it's Beth or Sarah.
Turn it over to Sarah. Okay, thanks, Colleen. So with that, NAMI realized very quickly that we have all the essential pieces to be a part of this solution to help expand support and recovery for individuals who are seeking healing and help. Our vision is to have a peer training program, PEER, because we love our acronyms, Purposely Evolving Educated Recovery. We would be a one-stop community-wide training hub for individuals with lived experience in recovery, seeking to facilitate their own personal career growth. We can offer education and support that's necessary to help people have a clear pathway to obtaining their certification. So that way they can use their lived experience to come alongside others and offer them that hope of recovery. This could be for the individual and also for organizations who are seeking to employ or are currently employing peers as part of their growing workforce. And NAMI's peer training program is a start to finish and beyond model. So there's several components involved that for someone to receive their certification. We would be able to not only offer them the education, but also the supervision, the coaching, and on-the-job training hours all in one place, which has been really disjointed otherwise. And so we really take pride in the fact that we have all the elements necessary to be able to offer this to individuals and organizations so they can have that opportunity to get certification. We found that our target markets are for the individual themselves, a peer specialist who might be looking to enhance their professional development, and also for the organization hiring peers. So those are our primary targets. Secondary would also be public sector. So peers belong everywhere. Any systems, any organizations, it's valuable to have the expertise of someone who's had the lived experience to come alongside others who are currently navigating that. So governments and other agencies, hospitals, school districts, we hear oftentimes from schools that it would be valuable to have a peer for the youth there. First responder agencies, for example. And in the private sector, health insurers, peers go by so many different names. They've been called patient navigators, for example. We've been in so many places. And so there's opportunities to expand in so many arenas, including an EA program, employee assistance programs. And although the state and our system of care is recognizing the value of peers and is compelling mental health organizations to be utilizing them more, the reality is that there's not a lot of them in our state yet. So as far as competition, really the ones that stand out are the Peer Support Coalition of Florida and NAMI Pinellas Peers in Recovery Mentorship Program. And being that these are our main competitions, you might understand that it's a bit of a bottleneck trying to receive all of that education and coaching that's being offered. So it would be really critical for us to be able to offer that to our community and be able to just enhance that track for people.
So we have an advantage. Unlike other programs who might offer the training component, what our program is going to do is offer all components of certification. So there's different, like Sarah was saying, there's different components. I kind of compare it loosely to how a therapist becomes licensed and has to go through all of their requirements. Peers have the same thing. So we have to go through 40 hours of content-specific training, which is a really difficult thing for peers who are trying to become certified to obtain. So we would offer that full 40 hours, 16 hours of WRAP training, which is wellness recovery action planning. A lot of organizations and peers want to go through this training, but it isn't regularly or widely offered throughout our state. And Sarah and myself are both WRAP trainers. Part of certification, you need 16 hours of coaching. We would offer 4 hours of one-on-one coaching because often peers who are employed have their own supervisors. So I would be able to assist them in, learning how to supervise a peer, and also for the peer directly to get that coaching of this is what the role of a peer is. For those who aren't employed currently as a peer specialist, we have spaces throughout NAMI. We have our YANA program, different groups, presentations that an individual would be able to get their 500 hours that's needed for certification. They would have one-on-one personalized assistance with the application process. So when I went through the application process, it's definitely really confusing to figure out how to apply, how to fill out the forms, what forms need to be filled out. And then our program would also include facility rental for our 40-hour 1 week training. So marketing and sales. For marketing, we would create a rack card or collateral materials, paper materials that we would be able to distribute into the community. NAMI already has this for almost all of our programs. We have a website and a really strong social media manager who would be able to distribute material both on our website and via social media. And we would make sure that our advertising is targeted to those target markets. For sales, we already have some pretty strong relationships with behavioral health providers and community providers in our counties. So we would set up individual meetings with potential customers, clients, and partners, doing presentations and sending out mailings to potential customers. So we are underway. Part of being able to offer training for certification is you have to become an approved provider through the Florida Certification Board. And that was on our business plan to complete, but we are ahead of schedule and we received our provider number, which is really, really exciting. So now we're able to issue CEUs or continuing education units. And we have a story to tell. So last year, I was able to give a TED Talk on peer support and the importance of peers. For the sake of time, I'm not sure if, Larry, do I have a moment? Nope. Okay, so we are not going to show the clip, but I will be able to put that in the chat for anyone who is interested in viewing that. So our next steps, we have already received our provider number. We'll be completing our budget and finalizing the business plan. Our fast pitch is on June 29th. And we're in the process of creating our own curriculum so that we will be able to deliver that 40 hours of training, raising our startup capital, and then implementing our business plan. So I want to give a big thank you to the Patterson Foundation, Margin to Mission, and the Sarah Leonard Group for giving us this opportunity to pursue this. And that is the end of our presentation. Any questions?
Any questions for this team? Thank you. Mike.
Nice. So just a quick question. That was really well done. And it sounds like it's a much needed offering in the community. So whether I'm an individual or an organization or a business, if I wanted to, purchase the offering, will it have a, one set fixed price, or is there various modules that you guys are looking at so that, it's kind of a la carte? I'll choose this, I'll choose that. How are you envisioning it?
I can hit this really quick. We're looking at a fixed price. So right now we're still working through kind of the final details on it, but for an organization, as an example, say a larger behavioral health provider, we would say the flat fee is $10,000, that you could have up to 10 people train with us. That's up to them on that amount, but that would be capped on that. And then individually, right now we're at about 1,000. And that's start to finish. So that's not just pieces and parts.
Right. Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? All right, Beth. Hopefully you did load that into the chat box. I do encourage everyone to look at it. Beth was a bit of a superstar at the TED Talk. Mike, I'll turn it back to you.
All right. Let's see. Next up is the team from Sarasota Opera. So I'll introduce Richard Russell. And Richard, I don't know if it's you presenting and or if your colleague Ken is going to join you, but I'll turn it over to you.
It is me. Ken is having some technical issues. He cannot speak. He is silenced. So I guess I will do it. Hold on. Let me share this. Are you now seeing my
we are.
presentation? Great. Also joining us hopefully a little bit later is our, whoops, I went the wrong direction. Our board treasurer, who next week will become our board chair, Art Siciliano. He had a doctor's appointment at 10, but he said he might be able to join us by 11. So he may be coming in later. So Sarasota Opera is virtue of our name. We produce opera, impassioned opera performances true to the vision of the composer to entertain, enrich, educate, inspire a lifelong love of opera in our diverse and growing communities. And that is our mission statement. And one of the important things when we talk about true to the vision of the composer is that we tend to do our productions in period. Some opera companies are doing modern productions, but we tend to do things in period as the composer wrote it. So an important element of our productions are costumes. And we have spent a lot of time and investment in costumes over the years. We have wonderful and beautiful costumes. We have had the same costume designer for 26 years, Howard C. Kaplan, who has created some really wonderful productions, some of which were built for us at our Sarasota Opera costume shop, or others. And we have costume staff who work for us every year. But we have a limited amount of space and time. So very often we have had to, and we do 5 operas a year, which means hundreds of costumes per opera, which is expensive. So very often, rather than build them, we have rented them in the past. And we have primarily used a costume shop out of Toronto, Canada called Malabar. They were the largest costume supplier in North America for the opera industry. They had stores in Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal. And their clients included all the major opera companies in the United States and in Canada, but also mid-size and smaller opera companies as well. They built quite a substantial rental inventory of costumes. By 2018, it was 30,000 costumes for 135 opera productions. Well, we have been a client for theirs for over 30 years. And in 2019, we had the opportunity to purchase their collection. Their owner was older, was deciding to slow down, and he offered us a price, as they say, we could not refuse. It was an extraordinary price to acquire these costumes. And so we made the decision to make this purchase. This is the bird's eye view of their part of their warehouse where they stored those costumes in Toronto. So we went up in 2019, negotiated the sale, and began to move them over to Sarasota in the fall of 2019. And the reason we did it, we had several reasons. One is to preserve this historic collection of costumes used by opera companies in North America. Some of the great opera singers in the history of opera have worn these costumes, including Luciano Pavarotti, Beverly Sills, Marilyn Horne, and Placido Domingo. By purchasing these, we will save about $100,000 annually in our costumes costs. We were rented from them on a regular basis, so we would save some not having to rent, also protecting it, because if this collection went away, it would be very difficult for us to replace it. So, which is one of the motivating factors of us buying the collection. And it would generate revenue to help support Sarasota Opera's operating costs. We have always rented costumes, but our collection was very small. This would dramatically increase the number of costumes that we would be able to rent to other opera companies. And we would become the leading costume provider to opera companies in North America. So this was the proposition to opera and theater companies need high quality costumes for their productions. Inflation and market pressures have made the creation of costumes much more expensive and difficult to find. Fabric has become very, very difficult to get. And so in recent years, it's become very expensive to build these costumes. Renting is much more cost effective than building. It requires staff, materials, storage once you're done with them, because you don't want to throw them away. And then the costumes each cost about $1,000 to $2,000 to build, depending on the detail of the costume. So by offering these, we were offering a good value to opera companies who were beginning to look very seriously at their budgets. So the collection was transferred to us in the fall of 2019. They were stored in a temporary space, and we had planned to build a warehouse, but then COVID hit and closed all of the opera and theaters in the world, frankly. And so that put a big crimp in our business. So we put our plans to build a new warehouse on hold, and we had no rentals for a year. We had hoped to be able to build that business in that first year, and we couldn't do anything. Shortly after, when things started to reopen, began in sort of the fall of 2020, we did get some inquiries, some film inquiries, which is interesting. We started to get for some, we did a commercial for Kia Cars, HBO. As opera companies began to reopen, they started to rent from us on a limited basis, but it was slow going for the first year in trying to get this going. In 2023 is really when things started happening again. Opera companies started to resume performances. This year, we will have exceeded 300,000 in rentals. Our new warehouse is leased. Our staff, as you'll see, Howard Kaplan is our costume designer. John Tully is our full-time costume administrator, but we need additional staff to help pull and pack as the rental requests come in. We decided to abandon the building of the warehouse just because of time. We were able to find a space to lease, which was a former volleyball gym. And so it was actually air conditioned and clean, which was an important part of needing to store the costumes. We were able to build this racking that you see. We had actually purchased the land to build the warehouse. We were able to sell it for a nice profit. Actually, we sold it for twice what we paid for it. So we were able to get back some of the money that we had put in, and put away some additional money because of that. So I just thought I added this to the presentation. This is a quick flyover of our existing warehouse. This is the costume collection that's been unpacked in our new warehouse that's on just off of 301, just north of University Parkway. And you can see the amount of costumes that we have acquired during those years. Sorry. But the problem was that things had slowed down. Our business plan was way behind. And just as business is starting to pick up, we began to revisit our goals, and we learned about Martian and Mission Ignition. And we participated in the initial sessions and realized this could really help us build capacity and really revisit our business plan to enable us to move more quickly and be able to generate more revenue. So the timing was great. Our primary market are 70 professional opera companies of what they call Opera America Level 2 and 3. These are $1 to $15 million budgets. The largest opera companies, like the Metropolitan Opera, some of LA Opera, they generally have in-house costume departments, but the sort of mid-sized opera companies are a very good market for us. We are also looking at the 66 university and college opera and theater programs. These have turned out to be a really good prospect for us. They are always looking for costumes. And again, everybody, especially after COVID, is very conscious of their budgets. So something that's cost effective is very important. Our secondary market will be to go into professional theater companies and with some film and TV companies. As a matter of fact, we got an inquiry yesterday from Netflix for a couple of costumes, just a handful. We had done a project with them last year, but they're looking for some additional costumes as well. This is not going to be a big market for us because the costumes are very specific to opera. And we have these 135 productions that are already pre-assembled, so you can take them as a package. The others are kind of a pick and choose kind of situation, and so that will be a secondary market for us. There is competition in this space. There is one commercial venture, Wardrobe Witchery, who is actually a costume designer out of Pensacola. Utah Symphony and Opera has a large collection, in Seattle Opera. Also Santa Fe, they have Santa Fe Opera Theater, St. Louis and Tri-Cities Opera in Binghamton, but their selections are limited. They have very restrictive policies, which include additional charges. For example, designer royalties. Some require a wardrobe supervisor to travel with the costumes and to stay on site. So that brings the cost up. We are more cost efficient. We have only one costume designer, Howard Kaplan, who works for us, who requires royalties. All of the others are royalty free. And we have a much bigger selection in productions in multiple sizes. Our advantage is it is the largest collection of opera costumes in North America. With additional donations, Malabar actually closed the rest of their business, which included non-opera costumes. We now have a stock of over 50,000 costumes. It's more than 100,000 individual pieces, and they're of extremely high quality. Some of our competitors do not have the same level of quality that we do, which is important, because when you do a run of 10 performances of an opera, the costumes have to last. They have to be able to get through the run without falling apart. We have multiple sizes to accommodate a variety of sized artists. And we have these 135 complete opera productions, but we also have the ability for a company to come in and pick and choose and assemble something else out of this selection of costumes. We've already had that happen. We also have an in-house design resource, Howard Kaplan, who will assist companies in assemble their costumes. And we've done this for several of our clients as well. These are some of our existing and potential clients, some of whom were previous clients of Malabar who we have not yet recaptured. And that's an important part of our business plan, is to recapture their clients as well. So through margin of mission ignition, we really feel it's important for us to build the capacity. We're revisiting our business plan so that we can expand the details of it. We're looking at the resources that we need. One of the things we've discovered is that we did not plan well enough for additional resources that we will need, including additional staff and equipment. So we need to build the capacity. We need to identify more resources to be able to increase revenue. For example, if we don't have enough staff and we can't handle more than 1 or 2 productions at a time. So we have, with the 2 years that we've already done, we understand now the staffing that we need, the technology resources, which we did not plan sufficiently for, and the additional equipment. So right now we're finalizing the business plan, as we all are. We're determining the cash need. We have the fast pitch scheduled for July the 24th, and we anticipate we'll have to do some additional fundraising to build the capacity. We will need to hire additional staff. We have a plan. We actually have a resource that will be available to us soon to hire to help out, who is well trained in this area. We are beginning to look at the technological resources. We've had some demos of, for example, inventory software and CRM software that we're hoping to implement. And then we need to purchase some additional equipment as our fundraising is done. So it's an exciting opportunity, and I'm right on 12 minutes, so I will stop.
Richard, thank you. Go ahead and take yourself off screen share, and we'll open it up to any questions or comments or thoughts that anybody might have. I will just say that both Kelly Alexander and myself had the wonderful opportunity to tour the costume studio, and those pictures don't even do it justice. I mean, it is quite remarkable to just see the breadth and depth and scope of the opera costumes in this collection. It is vast and it is impressive. So Richard and Ken, if you ever open the costume studio up for tours, of course, for a fee, earned income, we would encourage all of you to go and see it and tour it. It's remarkable. Anyway, anybody have any questions for Richard? Okay, if not, then we'll go to last but not least, group number 4. And Larry, why don't you go ahead and introduce?
Yeah. As Mike said, last but not least, I'd like to introduce Erin Birching from Save Our Seabirds. Erin, if you want to share your screen.
Thank you, Larry. All right, hi, everybody. Let's see, sharing. There we go. All right, so thank you. As Larry said, I am Aaron Virgin. I'm CEO of Save Our Seabirds. Our mission is to rescue, rehabilitate sick and injured birds, and the goal of releasing them back to their natural habitats. We're also a visitation site here next to Molten Marine Aquarium, where we have over 100 ambassador birds, where people get to have a close look at the birds that they normally can't see in the wild, which we'll get to in a second. We're considered a model facility by the Fish and Wildlife Commission, and it's mainly because of the staff we have and the care and the cleanliness of the facility that we run here. We get about 5,000 calls a year. That's about 15 a day. That doesn't mean birds are always coming in when we get a call. Sometimes it's a bird that fell out of a nest. We help relocate it. Sometimes it's a what we call a catch and release. And 95% of the birds brought to us are brought to us by volunteers who take time out of their day to travel on their own dime across our 50-mile service area. Our rehabilitation, we're led by our veterinarian, Maria Passarelli, who's been with us going on 3 years. But at the moment, we can really only triage, do minor surgeries, and strength training. We don't have the facility we aspire to have here, which we're working on through our capital campaign, which we're in a quiet phase at the moment. I'll talk about in a second. We try to release the birds within 6 months. That's by state regulations, all within 10 miles. And the 2 owls you see there, Gatsby on the right is an adult great horned owl, and he is a surrogate. He's helping raise a young great horned owl who was eventually released back into the wild. And as I mentioned, we have over 100 non-releasable birds, wing, foot, eye injuries that reside here, and again, are open for the public to see. We are, like I said, in a quiet phase of a capital campaign. We're still trying to figure out our exact needs, but what we definitely need is a modern facility. The picture there on the right is the office where I'm zooming from right now, and our hospital to the right of that. We're in the need of 32 new aviaries, which will have new construction. We're getting away from the wood and different types of fencing and moving more towards steel, aluminum, and more of what we call a vanishing mesh. We need some teaching areas and things like avian themed playscapes that we would tie in with the city. We are on city property. And of course, we want to build an endowment, which we currently do not have. Just a testimonial that kind of ties into what we're talking about and why we're here today is that we provide this opportunity for people to see these birds up and close. And yes, birds can be elusive here in Florida. And that gets to the point of something's missing in paradise. We had 3 million people visited Sarasota in 2021. For the first time in 2022, Visit Florida found that more people visited Florida to go bird watching than play golf.
Wow.
We have a lot of underutilized sites that we want people to be more aware of for both conservation value and just recreation. And I think some of you know that during COVID, a lot of people were outside. They couldn't go and meet different people, but they could go on a hike. They could view wildlife. They could take pictures, that sort of thing. And there's also a transportation issue. As we build, as our community grows, there's an infrastructure issue. And we, as environmentalists, look at trying to get less people on the road. So, blocking myself here. Sorry about that. There we go. So what we found is birding tours are non-existent in the region. Hotels need fun activities for guests. Locals want adventures for out-of-town visitors. But where do we go? Or where do they go? So the solution is SOS Birding Tours. And to join us to see Florida's beautiful birds and support the mission of Save Our Seabirds. So what we're proposing is expert-led tours who would also act as the guides or as the drivers, I should say, and pick you up for 2 to 4 hour tours, door to door, provide equipment, optics, and it would help generate conservation awareness. We feel that going to and from the sites, we have a captive audience. We would be speaking to them, telling about the importance of the area, importance of conservation, and of course, we'd be improving the SOS brand. Some of the tours could start at SOS, at Save Our Seabirds, or they could finish there. Either way, we would have a tie-in for them to visit at some point during their stay, whether they're snowbirds or whether they're tourists, which, like I mentioned, 3 million annually in 2021. Residents, nearly 500,000 are currently reside here, and we know that's growing. Snowbirds, nearly 100,000. And then our fourth target market are businesses and partners, whether it's nonprofits for retreats. We've teamed up or begun speaking with adult education groups, and of course, event planners doing destination weddings. Some of the market segments are birders, of course. There is a difference. Bird watcher is typically someone who may stay at their home and put bird seed out. Birders are active. They want to go somewhere. They may have a list they want to tick off, or they just want to go to an area and see the elusive crested caracara, or other birds that are kind of hard to find, and they may not be able to find on their own. They're nature and animal lovers. They're hikers. They're photographers. There's families that want to get out together and do something. It's a little different. They're adult education people. They want to continue learning. And of course, business leaders who want to maybe do team building. One thing about birding that's interesting is there's a lot of senses used, whether it's your eyes, your ears, and just being outdoors. As I've shared with Larry, there's a whole concept now called ornithotherapy, which is a Zen concept of getting outdoors. It's deep breathing while you're birding and that sort of thing. It's really taking off. The competition we looked at is the local Audubon societies. There are 3. Beginning down south is Venice, then of course Sarasota, and up north is the Manatee Audubon. Friend groups, Oscar Scherer State Park has a pretty big friends group. Their highlight is the Florida Scrub Jay, which is one of the sites we would visit. And Myakka River State Park is another one, which we would do tours. Around the Bend Nature Tours is really the only ecotourism company outside the kayak tour companies that actually have a van and would drive people around. So that would be our main competitor. So rooms for improvements in terms of the competition. Most of the ones I mentioned, there's a really infrequency of tours. Whereas we would offer daily tours, and we could even offer in the peak season multiple tours a day. With the exception of around the bend, there's no transportation. You have to meet a group leader at a certain site. We're offering, we'll pick you up, we'll bring you back. This is something the hotels really like. Limited brand awareness with the potential competitors, whereas we have a 15-year history and we're growing. And the others really kind of lack a mission to support. We have this avian hospital that, along with, as I mentioned, Dr. Passarelli and our team is growing. We have something people can really get behind, learn about. And one of the secondary benefits would be a lot of the people on our tours would then have the potential of being donors down the road as they learn more about us. Where we are now is marketing, excuse me, I'm blocking myself, our marketing and sales approach. One thing we looked at is the brand identity. We talked to Michelle Green, who was recommended by Mike and Larry. We're looking at a logo for the venture, along with a tagline that either complements or in some cases may replace our current logo. We're looking to build awareness and visibility, obviously through website, social media, printed brochures. We want to wrap the van, so it's a driving billboard around town. Uniforms for the guides, that sort of thing. And linking into things like TripAdvisor. One of the biggest ways people learn about SOS isn't through Moat, really, it's through TripAdvisor. And so we've been in the TripAdvisor Hall of Fame for about 7 years now, based on the number of people that come through and the reviews you get. So we're looking to use that as additional leverage. Sales activities, in terms of client outreach, sales meetings, presentations. We're very fortunate to have Opal Properties engaged. They want to help us get this off the ground as early as this fall. They have 5 properties here in Sarasota, the Resort at Lombo Key Club being the biggest one, along with Zoda. And then we are going to have an online scheduling that again ties in with our donor database. Again, roadmap of where we are, continuing to cultivate donors along with Sarah's expertise, which has been great, while completing the business plan here next month, gaining the full board approval. Of course, they signed off on us beginning this venture, and they also want to make sure we have our ducks in a row and have their full board approval in July prior to the fast pitch. Again, the fast pitch being in July and possibly some Zooms. A lot of our donors are away, as I'm sure others on this call can relate to. And so we're looking at possibly early August as well. Raise the startup capital over the summer here, implement the plan, and then the soft launch of the tours in the fall. And again, like to thank Deborah, who reached out initially, who I was very skeptical when I got her letter, and I thought, wow, okay, this is a new angle for consultants. But then when I got on the MMI website and I saw the testimonials from the other CEOs who've been through it, I was kind of blown away. Lisa, who's joining me, who's on our board, also was skeptical when I approached her. She went on the website and said, I'm in, I want to do this. And of course, Sarah, who is a fundraiser at heart, and we've enjoyed our time together. I'd like to thank her for everything she's done. And at that point, I'll open it up to any questions.
Thanks, Aaron. If you want to open up the screen, stop screen share.
Will do.
I'd venture to say everyone on this call will sign up for the soft launch.
You're all invited, absolutely.
That's right. You'll be there. There's a lot of nonprofits that do activities too. So this could be a fun thing for nonprofits to do as a leadership team. Any questions for Aaron? Mike?
This is just more of a comment, but first of all, Aaron, well done. Secondly, as somebody who has been with family and friends in Sarasota for many, many years, always looking for experiences and fun things to do, informational, educational things to do, this is really a wonderful opportunity. Again, people look for experiences, experiential activities. The Moat Boat has been a favorite of ours for many, many years. We've seen how, it's always booked. In fact, long wait lists oftentimes, especially during season. So, this is just another great offering that will give people, a wonderful glimpse into another incredible, natural part of the Sarasota region. So, applaud you. I think it's going to be wildly successful. And of course, don't forget the St. Regis Resort is not too far away from opening, which will bring even more folks to, to your experiences. So well done.
Thank you, Mike.
Barbara?
Do you have have you worked out your pricing yet? Will there be group costs and then individual? Has that been finalized?
Yeah, so right now it's been based on the individual. And that's for 2 and 4 hour tours. There's the potential to do a full day tour. And then there's the potential to do a customized tour, which would be possibly a group rate. One of the things we're looking at in terms of, let's go to this is where my board is definitely concerned, is what do you do when it's non-peak season? What do you do in the summer? And that's where we shift gears a little bit. And that's where we bring in the continuing education folks. And we start looking at different things that make sense in terms of attracting a more diverse audience, destination weddings, working with event planners. We know, though, the tourism season since COVID has changed. There is a year-round tourism season now. We have the shoulder seasons when the Europeans come here, which is both in the fall and the spring. And then there are people who are coming here in the summer. So we are going to play around with it, obviously, in the first year. But we've working with Larry, we definitely have a number of ways that we can scale this. But the bread and butter, to answer your question, are the 2 and 4 hour tours. And that would keep us in the Sarasota Manatee area.
Is that like under $100? I mean, maybe you don't want to share it right now.
No, I can share it. A 2 hour tour would be approximately $80 a person. And the 4 hour tour would be about $155. That's what we're working right now.
Thank you.
And in speaking with both hotels, other, I've done a lot of talking with the kayak companies for two reasons. One, do people ask for this? They said, oh yeah. People want to know other things they can do other than motorboat and kayak tours. And looking at the other markets in Florida and across the country, affluent areas like this with high tourism, those prices work, especially in the peak season.
Nice gift idea too.
Absolutely. I
Great
didn't
idea.
bring that up, but we are working with realtors. There's a couple realtors who I've talked to about this. They would love to give this to someone who, instead of a bottle of champagne, we give you, you and your significant other who just bought this condo or house, a 2-hour birding session.
Could be the car dealers too, Aaron.
There you go.
Yeah. Any other questions for Aaron? Well, congrats. You and Lisa have worked very, very hard on this. So, Mike, why don't we move on to the second section?
Okay, well done, everybody. And
Yeah.
This takes us to the second part of our session, which is what we're calling, even though we've already been learning and sharing, we're going to dive into our 5 topics that each of you and your teams have thought about and developed some talking points for, to share specifically on this first category, which is communication. So the question that we asked and are interested in you sharing about is, what are the 2 most notable ways that your organization has shared or communicated about your business planning work with key stakeholders? So again, we've been doing this for almost 14 weeks, and you've got a number of stakeholders that you have communicated with. So why don't we just start with, let's see, Sarasota Opera. Richard, do you want to share about communications?
Sure. Well, we have discussed this at board meetings. We haven't had many, but we have had a discussion and mentioned that we were participating in this process. Our big sharing, though, was through press releases. We have a pretty significant network of press to whom we send releases, and we did send a release that we were participating in this, and it was picked up by a number of publications, including of course our local ones, SRQ, Scene Magazine, but there's also a publication that gets out to the wider world called Broadway World that had this, and as well as an opera specific public website and email news service called Opera Wire. And of course, we spent a lot of time promoting this initiative on our social media. And shortly, we have actually drafted an email blast that will go to our whole database that will talk about the costumes, the progress we've made with the costumes, but also this initiative is an important part of that email. It's going out probably next week.
So that goes to Richard, that goes to the full email database for the Sarasota Opera?
It will go to our full email database, but and we're specifically targeting, when we first did this, we did do fundraising for the initial purchase, which unfortunately we were not able to fully complete because of COVID. But we will be targeting those donors and really focusing on the donors who participated in that, and there were a substantial number of them.
Got it. So 3 forms of communication: sharing with board, sharing with your, I guess, database, full Sarasota Opera database, and then also with the media and spreading the word that way. Great. Thank you for sharing. Let's go to Art Center Sarasota. Kinsey or Margaret Ann?
I think I share pretty much everything Richard said. We tried to do a lot of those same things. I think they're the natural progression. I think one of the things that really became very clear is because this was a week in, week out, we're on top of it, like it forced us all to be much more aware of what we're doing. There was regular communication on the board as we built this, and not only with the board, but also with staff. In the past, we would get inquiries about it and we'd kind of be like, oh, I don't know. And then now we have a system that says, okay, when you get an inquiry, you do this, you do this, you do that. And then we have a system to say, okay, we reach out or whatever. So that kind of communication, I think, has been very valuable and is helping us to not have this be on a back burner. Excuse me, it has moved it to the front burner in terms of operations, which I think makes us all keep thinking about this on a regular basis.
Good. Yeah, that's, I think that's another good point, and way that communication is important as part of this initiative. So thank you for sharing that, Margaret. And let's go to Nami. I don't know if it's Colleen or Beth.
Yeah, same thing that they have both shared already with staff and board. You know, our staff being all peers already, we've got like a built-in training ground, which has been really kind of neat because then they become brand ambassadors. So we're working on that a lot. The other thing that has been interesting in a communication perspective is other NAMI affiliates. So there's 26 in Florida. And we have been communicating more broadly over the last couple of years. And so this has been like a natural infusion into those conversations. And that's really kind of sparked interest from other affiliates also, which can be part of our ongoing target market, but also from a collaborative perspective. So that's been really interesting in the communication dynamic over the last couple of months.
Nice. So two more ways of communicating, one with affiliates and also with your peer network.
Yep.
Which is great. Good. And let's see, Save Our Seabirds. Aaron.
Yeah, again, you know, keeping the board in the loop. I'll tell you though, I'll take a different take. I think our board probably wanted to have more updates. We do meet monthly, and as the process unfolded though, and Lisa could probably attest to this as well, you work, and everybody on the call, really you work on parts. And at the time you're thinking, well, this is, we got to do this, we got to do that. Some of the things are known, and it's not till you get to near the end that it's kind of eye-opening of how everything's coming together. But we circulated 2 updates to the board and got their feedback. And like anything that's new, we got a lot of interesting questions, and it raised more ways of thinking about the project, which is, you know, in a positive way. The donors, absolutely. I actually had in my remarks for our Sunset Soiree, which was back in about a month ago in April, I briefly touched on what I mentioned before about how coming to Florida to view birds was actually more popular last year than coming to play golf. And there was a lot of, wow, you know, a lot of those things. And after or during the event portion, I should say, there was a lot of good follow-up. A lot of people asked me that question. They want to learn more. And in those remarks, I said that we were going to be launching this activity later in the year. So it was a good, I guess, seed to plant in donors' minds, and a good follow-up piece. So.
Good. Well, so yeah, again, communication, depending on the organization, level of board engagement, interaction, and communication will vary, as you've heard, sort of from each of the 4 teams. Some want more, some want less, maybe some in between. And then donors, communicating with donors is obviously an important thing. And Sarah Leonard, we've heard you say many, many times over the course of our work together that if you're not out sneezing your mission to prospective donors and funders and investors, you might be missing an opportunity. So I don't know, Sarah, anything to add there? Sneeze your mission, right?
I love it. I say it a lot. And one of the things I noticed in your slide, Mike, you had listed the different groups by bullet points, and I would say all of them are prospective donors. You never know who you're talking to, who will be a donor.
That's it. All right. Anybody have any comments, questions, or thoughts that you would like to share on communications? If not, we'll move to the second topic. Barbara Banks.
We have an advantage at the Art Center of having classes and openings. So we have hundreds and hundreds of people coming through that may not think about, oh, I could have my party here or my retreat. So we have that audience as we're unfolding this, we can roll it out to those audiences directly.
Absolutely. And I think to your point, and then back to Sarah's point from a minute ago, those folks who are taking classes in the Art Center, they could potentially be investors, donors, and funders. So yes, and of course, they could book the space for rentals. All right, anybody else? Okay, then let's see. We'll go back into slide deck, and Larry, you can cue up the topic.
So the next is aha moments, the two most notable insights and realizations that your organization has had to date as part of the process. And Mike, if you want to open it back up again. And we have seen a number of deer in the headlights over the past few months. So share a couple of those. Hopefully they're both positive, but there's some aha moments that sometimes aren't. Why don't we start with NAMI?
Yeah, definitely. So one of our biggest aha moments was really doing the financial breakdown to be able to see, how we can come up with a cost of what we're going to charge organizations who are contracting with us. So really getting time to, look at the budget and create that was a really big, like, oh, wow, okay, we can, really get some income through this. And another aha moment, so we knew that our competition and that organizations that offer peer training are limited, but really getting to sit down and do research and analyze, where can peers go to get trained and certified, and seeing how limited opportunities are was really eye-opening and kind of like, wow, there's not a lot of opportunities. And so, having the opportunity to become the peer hub of our counties and our region, that was something really, really cool to see.
Yeah, great. Yeah, you guys have really dove in and learned a lot through the process. Kinsey.
I was going to say, kind of like what Beth is saying a little bit, one of our aha moments, and you take it for granted, we're in this beautiful art center that has exhibitions changing all the time. And we realized it was a couple of times where people would come in with some inquiries about maybe having a rental. And our aha moment was kind of like, you sometimes forget how beautiful the space is that you're working in, how that might translate outside. And so many people who come into the space who say, wow, this is so beautiful, it's exciting. Wait, this changes every 6 to 8 weeks. It creates that excitement. And as a venue, I think what that does for the potential renters of our space is it creates this kind of already built-in decorated space that, can also help with their budgets when they're planning, because flower arrangements, balloons, all of those things to fill beige walls up is something that you don't really have to work on here. And that was a big thing that I think we just took for granted on the day-to-day.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Sarasota Opera.
Yeah, for me, when we started talking about this, one of the things that we started is to regularly review the amount of inquiries that we get every week. And that was a surprise, not only the volume, I knew we were getting them, and I would, occasionally, since we started this business, I'd be talking to Howard, our designer, who was getting most of the inquiries. And I knew he was getting them, and occasionally he'd share it with me, but actually looking at the volume and also understanding how many we got that we couldn't necessarily that couldn't turn into a contract for some reason or another, and how we might be able to look at the business model to be able to alleviate that problem so that we can actually capitalize on those particular situations. For example, if we didn't have enough staff to do the packing that day, if we were in the middle of season and finding, so that was one aha moment. And the other was just how vast our network of contacts are. that we can make this, really expand the business, the people that we've connected with. And in talking again with Howard and other members of staff, and, as we have people in here in season, we had a singer who was a singer with us a couple of years ago, who's now teaching at a college program. So she's been able to turn, become a client of ours through renting our costumes. So how we've been able to turn that network of people we know into potential rental clients. So those were our 2 aha moments.
Right. I think everyone on the call is looking at some type of a CRM program. How do you keep track of those calls that are coming in? How do you turn them into customers? So thank you, Richard, for sharing that. Save Our Seabirds.
Sure. I think our first one was, and I mentioned this in my presentation, was the introduction of Michelle Green. And in speaking with Larry, looking at our whole brand and working on improving the organizational brand, along with developing elements of the venture, the birding tours. When Lisa and I met with Michelle, we were pretty impressed both with her ability of what she can offer, but also how she could integrate what we currently have, and of course her price. So it was something that when we began this project, we weren't even considering this. But it's something that if we do move forward with it, it would definitely help us in many respects. The other thing, Opal Properties was a big one. Having a key partner come in who owns that many hotels and has that many clients coming through, and who says, we're in, let us know, keep us in the loop on what you need from us, and we'll help promote it, was also a nice aha moment.
That's good. Thank you. It's always tough to talk to clients about their brand sometimes. And thank you for listening to me and listening to Mike as we had that whole conversation. Good. Thank you all very much for sharing. Mike, why don't we go on?
All right. So topic number 3 is changes. What are the 2 most notable changes that you've seen in your organization or experienced just as a result of this business planning work that we've done to date? So they can be internal changes, everything from culture to operations, marketing, technology, and so forth, or they could be external or both. But it is interesting how each of you have seen changes within your organizations. So let's start this time with Art Center Sarasota.
Okay, I think a couple things that we noticed organizationally is that, and I kind of alluded to it a little bit before, but being able to have this weekly focus, and because I think we all are guilty of this. Stuff happens and other stuff falls by the wayside, and this particular process makes sure that this isn't falling by the wayside. So it is making it be more, we're definitely doing it, as opposed to we'll do it someday, and that's a huge change in terms of culture. And it wasn't like, oh, dread, somebody called about renting the place. Oh, good, somebody called about renting the place. Let's see what that is. So that, I think, was a big change. And I think getting more people to think about this and envision it and see it. So it's not just something on writing, it's in people's heads. That's an organizational change too.
So yeah, being intentional, making it a priority, making sure that the team is discussing it every day, every week, and holding kind of everybody accountable as well.
Right.
So that's great. Thanks for sharing, Margaret Ann. Let's go to Nami. Organizational changes. Is that Colleen or Beth?
I think it's Sarah. Sarah, you're on mute.
Sorry.
I'm here. We're improvising. Okay. This would be the day. There's technical issues, all kinds. So Strategically, well, internally, I'd say the changes that have been made are that we've already hired a part-time staff to be able to assist in some of the workload, so we can transition Beth more into this position to oversee the program we've created for this peer training. So we do have a timeline in place to be able to start to make those moves internally and just as fluid as possible. And then in addition, we have been making some very strategic partnerships and having some a lot of conversations with leaders in this field to be able to kind of get some of their insight and their support. And so buy-in essentially too, so that way when this program comes out, it's going to be well supported and shared among our partners and collaborators. So that's something that is really critical externally as far as kind of setting ourselves up for success. So those are some of the two key ones.
Good. That intentionality,
Mhm.
important one. All right, Aaron. Save our Seabrook.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to belabor the marketing thing again, but that was a notable change. And looking at the perspective of the larger organization, not just the venture. The other one has to do more with alliances, like we just heard from the Art Center, or NAMI, excuse me. And to the point where is our involvement now with Visit Sarasota, possibly even Visit Florida more, working with the Audubon Society, which in the past, we've been viewed as two different organizations just doing similar work, but not in a collaborative way. That's changed a lot in the course of doing this plan. How we work with the chambers of commerce are a lot different now, and they're excited because again, they need something to give to the tourists, to give to the people coming here. So it's changed, I guess, our day-to-day a little bit in the amount of brochures we're putting out there and our links to websites and things like that. So it's changed for the better, for sure.
Good. Richard, Sarasota Opera, changes.
Well, one thing is how, you know, in addition to servicing other rental clients, we're one of our biggest clients because we use our own costumes. So how this integrates with our production process and frankly, the rest of the organization. We use production staff to help the rental business when they can, but also the rental business has to help our production process as they can. So there's been a lot of sharing. In addition, how the marketing and development departments have integrated. And you mentioned something earlier today about you know, touring the warehouse is a great opportunity for development. And it's also potential income by selling tickets to give tours. So that's something. The other thing is how we are now interacting with our service organizations a little bit more and expanding the reach of the service organizations. And this was not so, this is something that came to me just recently. You know, we went to the Opera America conference and displayed the costumes last week in Pittsburgh. There's another service organization, USITT, which serves the theater industry. And being able to partner with those service organizations, I think, expands our reach and creates new partnerships and more market for us.
Definitely. Good. All right. So lots of changes, shifts that have resulted just over the past, you know, 3 months, 3.5 months as a result of this business planning process. We fully anticipate that as you keep forging ahead with this initiative and these earned income ventures, that you're going to continue to see more changes internally and externally. So stay tuned. Let's go on to topic 4. Share my screen again. And Larry, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah. So let's, the unexpected. So the single most pleasant surprise you've had along the way over the past couple of months, and the single most significant hurdle that you've come up against, and how did you overcome it if you've been able to overcome it at this point? So single best surprise, single most significant hurdle, and did you overcome it? Why don't we start with Art Center?
Right. So I think, we always say we're almost 100 years old, but I wasn't thinking about, I've only been here a year, so I don't have that institutional memory. But when we started giving tours and things to people, they were like, oh, well, people were coming to us because they had been here. So it's not like, it was like remembering, oh, right, we're not starting from scratch here. There are a lot of people who know about the Art Center. There are a lot of people who've been to the Art Center. So we had people who, a caterer recommended us because she had been here before, or a teacher who had, been to an event here, said, well, I could use it for my event. So it was that idea that you're not really starting from scratch. There's already a network out there that can be tapped into, and you'll get some surprises, which are good surprises. As far as our hurdle, I think, and I don't think this is surprising, but a lot of nonprofits, when they go looking for a venue, they're looking for the donation of space. They're looking for, let's collaborate on this and we'll have our event at your venue. We'll say it's a collaboration, which sometimes that works, but sometimes that doesn't work because it's not necessarily the two are compatible. So we've gotten pushback from nonprofits who are saying, well, that's high, or we don't normally pay, or any of those kinds of things. And one of the pushes was, well, we were doing a 4-hour minimum, which, kind of set an absolute bar of what the minimum cost would be to them. And so, in our conversations internally, we're like, well, okay, maybe we don't have to do a 4-hour minimum. Maybe it'll be a 3-hour minimum, so that it would at least enable people to kind of not have a sticker shock. And then if they have the event that's going to take 4 hours anyway, what difference does it make? They're going to take 4 hours, and so that would be it. So I think that was the pushback from the nonprofits who've come here about the cost and paying for a rental space. Particularly if it's not a fundraiser. If it's a fundraiser, you can build it into your ticket price. If it's something else, then they're like, well, I don't know, that's kind of steep for us. So that makes us rethink that a little bit.
Well, I think it's a good point about you're not starting from ground zero. When it comes to marketing and communication, a lot of people already know who all of you are and all your organizations. So thank you, Margaret. Aaron or Lisa from Save Our Seabirds, unexpected.
Yeah, I'll start out. And I think the best surprise, pleasant surprise, was the positive comments people gave us. These, I've mentioned Opal, of course, but members of the Audubon Society, I thought they might feel threatened by having tour companies come to places like Celery Fields, talking to donors, both existing donors and brand new donors. Eco tour operators, the kayak folks were like, this is fantastic because, more people coming here, more people doing this, you can refer us, we'll refer you. So that sort of thing. And then strangers on the bird walk here at SOS, I would just pose the question, if there were birding tours and they came and picked you up, would you, oh my gosh, yes. So stuff like that was very pleasant to hear. The biggest hurdle was our office and outreach manager, who was involved in the whole process of all the different labs and everything. She actually left the organization as we just started the business planning. So, if you've got, I see a lot of different members of different organizations have multiple people here. So we lost a key person. Lisa, of course, who's on the Zoom, who's a board member, stepped up and literally co-wrote the business plan with me and was on virtually every Zoom we did with Larry, did a significant amount of research. She did more than I probably would have ever asked her to do. And I mean, just fantastic. Sarah, who's also on this call, Sarah Rubin, is in her second full week. So she'll be helping in some respects of carrying out where we are now. So she's coming in at a crucial time, but just that staff upheaval, if you will, was a pretty big hurdle, and caused me some sleepless nights, to say the least.
All right, thank you, Aaron. I know that I was shocked when Lisa called in from Europe. I don't even know what time it was, but I was surprised to see you on the call. Thank you for that commitment.
Sure.
Let's move on to NAMI.
So our biggest pleasant surprise kind of also comes from the aha moment and organizational changes. So determining what we were going to charge organizations and how to do that took some time, but getting to work with our accountant and merge my and Sarah's time, our rate to, or our salary to develop an hourly rate. And then also working with Susan, who is a CEO at an East Coast peer organization, willing to share some of her contracts that she's used with other community providers in her region. Just the kindness that she extended to us to help us with some of those more monetary questions was a real pleasant surprise. Our hurdle, which we're still continuing to work over, is developing our curriculum. We have some ideas of the direction we want to go so that we can offer that direct 40 hours of training, because right now with certification, it's kind of piecemealing different trainings together to get that 40 hours is what a lot of peers specialists have to do. So being able to create that curriculum is really going to help us advance this program.
Great, thank you. You never know where that opportunity is going to lie, right? Your partner on the East Coast, thank you. Sarasota Opera.
So I'm going to answer these questions in reverse.
Okay.
Because one actually leads to the other. The biggest hurdle is figuring how to manage the fast pitch and the fundraising needed for this in the context of all of our other fundraising we're doing. Our fiscal year is ending at next week. We end May 31st. So we're trying to renew our regular donors. We're trying to, get all of that done. We are in the process of trying to raise about $750,000 to replace our air conditioning system on one of our buildings. So we have all these multiple streams of initiatives that are going on, and how do we fit that in? So, so that was difficult for us to kind of figure out. And that's, we were a little hesitant. My development director especially was hesitant at putting that in our planning process. However, the surprise is, as we looked at it, it actually became, so one of the things that's happened post-COVID is that we are seeing a large percentage of new people in our audience. Last year, 40% of our ticket buyers were brand new to us. So this actually represents a really good opportunity in being able to connect with the new audiences, to be able to potentially, this is a very attractive project for people, costumes, they like to see the costumes, they're very excited. This has proven in the past to be a really powerful fundraising tool for us. So this, we think, is a great opportunity to engage that new group of people who are just come into the opera for the first time. This is a very, I'm trying to avoid using the word sexy, but it's, it's a really interesting way of getting people engaged in the opera company. And it's something that we think will be very appealing. So that was our surprise.
All right, thank you. Well, Richard, I have to say, once you made a decision to push back your fast pitch, we had a couple of other organizations like, could we do that too? So you can thank Richard Russell for that. You other two organizations that have pushed yours back a bit. Thank you all for sharing. Lots of unexpected, and most of you have gotten over those hurdles. Let's move on to the last one, Mike.
All right. So topic number 5, last but not least, is opportunity. And we'd like you just to share, one, what's the single most notable way that you've taken advantage of this unique investment in your organization's future, meaning margin and mission ignition, as it relates to launching a new earned income venture or growing an existing one? And then secondly, what's the single most notable early win that you've had to date during this business planning process? So why don't we start this time around with Nami?
So for us, creating the curriculum, as Beth kind of set up, is really the game-changing piece. We discovered that we have essentially everything right now piecemealed, as she mentioned, but we want to really make it a very cohesive, robust really credible curriculum. And I think that's really going to be game changing because, as I mentioned, there's not a whole lot of competition and places who are doing and offering this curriculum. However, the demand is great. So we're seeing a lot of that kind of bottlenecking. It's hard to get in to get the curriculum. So if we have our own, it really sets us up well to be able to offer that to our community in our 2 counties of Sarasota and Manatee, but also, really it could be regional. It could be our Suncoast region. It could be, has the potential to roll out statewide, and being that we're an affiliate of a large national organization, a big goal could be to be able to get this to be rolled out among NAMI national. So that's really a really critical and exciting opportunity, we feel like, is creating this curriculum.
That's great. Taking the pieces that you had and putting them together to form something that can become a formal curriculum, and then leveraging that with your sort of NAMI affiliate network. So that's great. Thank you for sharing. Richard, let's Sarasota Opera.
So, well, the first, the great thing is that we are able to incorporate the lessons learned from the last 3 years into and kind of revisit our business plan. We had certain assumptions when we purchased this back in 2019. The world blew up on us and we weren't able to do what we wanted to do. But by, the incremental things we have been able to do in the last 3 years are helping us make decisions about the future of the business and incorporating them into this sort of what I view as a restarting business plan and restarting this business post-COVID. So, knowing the capacity needs we have, the staffing needs, the equipment, all of that, I think is very important and will help us grow this, this business to its potential. And the great win for us is, in doing this, we have seen not only how the business has grown since the restart of Opera and over the last 3 years. I mean, we did, I think it was 180,000 in 2022, in our fiscal year 2022, and now it will be about 300,000 in sales in 2023, and really understanding what the potential growth is, and we think it's really positive. So we think that's a great win.
Excellent. Let's go to Arts Center. Either Kinsey, Margaret Ann, or Barbara or Phil. Who's going to share?
I think Phil just had to hop off for an appointment. But I think for us, like in terms of the most notable way our organization is taking advantage right now, we had actually put some things into place in the past year, some light renovations that we're now being able to really play up in a different way through this rental facility business plan. We're seeing that some of the fruits of our labors from those kind of, upgrades that were really just for our members and for our students can now be talking points for anyone that's visiting the Art Center in terms of the rental, like, oh, look at the new renovation that we just did in this room, or, the hand railings that we just replaced and all of those things. I think in terms of our early win, we, which also kind of has made us reshape some of our thinking as well, is we were approached by a family who wanted to have a bar mitzvah here. And so Margaret Ann, in being able to provide that kind of one-on-one tour with a family, made them feel very comfortable in our space, and also gave them an opportunity to really get excited about all of the creativity that's visually in this center that would be great for a young group of youth who are celebrating a milestone, a coming of age. So that's a huge win for us.
Good.
Margaret Ann, anything that I'm missing?
Not that you're missing, but just to add, what I found really, one, I don't think initially we were thinking businesses, we were thinking nonprofits. We weren't really thinking about these milestone events as much. And one of the things that really struck me when I spoke to the woman whose son is getting bar mitzvahed, she said, and this is like so pertinent to where we are in the world right now. She said, you know, her son's kind of artistic, so he kind of gets a little bullied at school. He's not, you know, one of the things. So to have something that basically says, hey, you're great, honey, and here's a whole place where we're going to celebrate you, that is tied to what's
Amazing.
important to you. And any kid that comes to that, or, you know, person who comes to that is going to see that kid in a different light, because, oh, wow, art is something. And I think that was very satisfying to me.
Yeah.
So cool.
I think it's also playing up the branding and the identity of Sarasota, which really totes itself as a visual and performing arts hub for, you know, tourists and visitors and people that come to retire here. So being able to take advantage of even just the way that the city brands itself is something that we want to, you know, that we can use to our benefit.
Good. Let's see. Save Our Seabirds. Is it Aaron or Lisa?
It's me and Lisa, you want me to say them?
Well, I was just thinking, like, one thing that came about is when I was talking to ACE, the adult education, that was giving her an idea of what we're doing to see if we could do classes there. And she in turn said, you know what I'd really like for our people is for you to pick them up and bring them to Save Our Seabirds and let them get a tour and learn about the hospital. So that was like an exciting thing to, you know, to say, okay, well, that would be great too. And that would be easy. So that was kind of a fun learning moment.
It's good.
And I'll just say that in terms of, obviously, we're doing this to increase our earned revenue. And speaking with Sarah, she kind of guided me down the path of, you know, you can use this as a way for people to view what you're doing as an investment in SOS. And rather than, I think, her version of people who attend our events, it's more transactional. You're getting something, you're getting a fun event, you're buying an auction item, but this is more mission based. And this could be the donor that sticks with you a long time. And the way I position that with the board, I've said, hey, listen, these are the people we want for our capital campaign that we're currently working on in the quiet phase. So from a one-on-one with donors too, a lot of people who've moved down here were in business. They were titans of their industry and they like to hear about this, you know, and some have gone as far to say as, you know, this is a venture capitalist strategy and they like it. Some don't. They think it might be risky. But in both cases, they want to see the business plan. They want to see how things add up. As Larry points out, some people are going to go right back to the numbers. They want to see those graphs. And I've been able to use this as a touch or as a fundraising mechanism to cultivate these folks to see where they're going to come in. So I think to me, it's just been time well spent in a development capacity.
Great point.
That's great.
Yeah, again, you know, for each of your teams and your organizations, these earned income ventures are so mission aligned. You know, they're designed to not just help you as teams build your entrepreneurial capacity, but obviously to boost your revenue, which in turn will help you increase the organization's mission impact. And what a great story to be able to tell, as you said, Aaron, you know, to either current donors or prospective donors, people who are entrepreneurs, business leaders, former business leaders, you know, use that to your advantage. So we've got 3 minutes left. And before I turn it over to Larry, just want to acknowledge that each of you and your teams have really fully leveraged this opportunity. We heard it from all of you today, and we really appreciate that. And we know you're going to continue to do that. You heard that there were things that were similar between each of you and your teams, and you also heard some things that were different. We also heard that there's opportunities for collaboration here. So don't be afraid to, you know, pick up the phone or get together for lunch with some of your peers who are part of the Fruitful Four as we move forward. And don't be afraid to book a venue rental space when the Eco Tours launch, to go ahead and do that and talk each of your teams and organizations up. So Larry, I'm going to turn it back to you. I'll share my screen and we will wrap.
Thanks, Mike. I just wanted to add, there's so much commonality amongst the four of you. So I just really echo Mike's comments about reach out to each other, because even though you have very, very different organizations and businesses, there's similarities, and get to know the other executive directors and staff. It's important. So where do we go from here? All your business plans are almost done. They're almost complete. And then we'll start implementation. And we'll spend another 14 weeks. We'll have our weekly Zoom calls with you. There'll be an hour each. There'll be some homework in between sessions, little different homework. This is like the rubber hits the road homework. So think about your task and timelines that you're building in your business plans. That's what we're going to be focused on, making sure that you're doing what you said you were going to be doing with the money that you've raised. So, and we'll focus on bringing that business plan to life. You all have your fast pitches. One's coming up in June, and then the other 3 are in July. We're looking forward to all of those and working with you to get your presentations ready. And I know Sarah's working with you to make sure that you get the people in the room. And then you'll have your capital raises. Some of you are actually raising capital now for that. So congratulate those that have already raised some dollars. So that's kind of where we're going. Congratulations to all of you. Appreciate all your hard work, your participation in this. Very special thanks to the Patterson Foundation and our friends there, and to Sarah for helping with the fundraising piece. So Mike, if you want to open it up, just anybody have any parting comments, anything to say before we say goodbye?
I
Michael?
know Michael Corley was going to make a parting comment or two. So Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in light of time, let me just say that thank you all for what you're doing. We know the amount of work that's involved, and it's been fun to watch so we remove ourselves. We let Mike, Larry, and Sarah do the work. Your maturation over the last 3 months is extremely noticeable to those of us who just pop in. So you should really pat yourselves on the back for that, and very excited to see the fast pitches over the next couple months and what you all do. Because if today is any indication, you're gonna knock it out of the park. So thank you very much for what you're doing. You really are transforming your organizations, which means you're transforming our community. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Well, that's it, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend, and we'll all talk to you next week on our calls. Right?
No Zoom sessions this week.
That's
All
right.
Okay.
Thank
That's
you.
right.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you,
Everybody.
Larry and Michael, for all
Thank
that you've
you.
been doing. Thank you
Our
so
pleasure.
much.
Thank you.
Have a
All right.
safe
Everybody.
Thank you
holiday
so
weekend.
much.
All right. Bye-bye.